Hey guys, Bubba here with the BubbaNews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? Goodness gracious, I can't believe we just had April 1st, April Fool's Day, and then Trump with all his tariffs. Oh my goodness, guys, there's so much to get caught up on. I needed to take a time off the other night. Had to take my 20-year-old daughter to the emergency room with some really bad chest pains, but everything is going to be okay, it looks like. So that's a good blessing. But yeah, this world is getting darker. We're going to talk tonight about Turkey, Iran, Syria, and even this world is getting darker with a German soccer team that paid homage to Lucifer. So let's get right to it. This is getting crazy, guys. But yeah, we've got to keep an eye on Turkey to the north because they're on the move into Syria. And Israel's not happy. Lately, they've been building up Turkish military vehicles, and they've been preparing to deploy across several areas in Syria to establish military bases in Aleppo and Homs, Syria, and also the T4 air base. But the Homs and Aleppo are mentioned in Bible prophecy as Hamath and Arpad, and they are, quote-unquote, put to shame in the coming attack with the Damascus prophecy, when we read about this in Jeremiah 49:23. But this is what I'm saying. All these things are coming on cue. And all these prophecies are getting ready to kick off. With Turkey moving their stuff into Syria now, they're trying to fill in the spot where Iran is kind of pulled out. So there's kind of this vacuum, they think. So Turkey wants to move into Syria. Israel doesn't like that because Israel has air control over Syria, and they've been bombing the terrorists that have been sending the weapons from Iran to Hezbollah and Syria for years. So Turkey's getting ready to establish 2 forward operating bases for the Turkish Air Force in Syria. They're moving the Turkish Air Force of Syria, or of Turkey, excuse me. They're moving the Turkish Air Force into Syria. That's just crazy. And they're going to put up medium-range Turkish air defense systems that are going to be stationed at these stations. And this will pose a threat to the Israeli Air Force's aircraft flying low over Syria. But the rhetoric continues with Iran. The other day, I think this was Monday even, and I'm just playing catch-up because there's so much news going on, but the Iran sent this to the United Nations and said that they will respond swiftly and decisively to any act of aggression or any attack by the United States or its proxy, Israel. They said that the United States will be fully responsible for the grave consequences of any hostile action. And it's just getting crazy. But, as we get closer to the end, this is becoming my mantra, my motto, in a weird way. Just because whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him, through Jesus, because each one of us has a mission. And, we want to finish strong for the Lord Jesus Christ. We want to do everything we do in the name of him. And there's just so much just to keep going. But, April Fool's Day was what, Tuesday? So Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have assured Iran that they will not permit the United States to use their air bases for any attack against Iran. So we've still got this coming up. A large-scale attack on Iran will begin soon, an unprecedented assault since World War II. I think we as believers know it because it's prophesied, but even the world's picking this up now. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. And the rhetoric just continues to build up more and more every day. But even this is nuts. Turkey moves to take control of Syria's strategic T4 air base. They want to use this base to strike the Islamic State, is what they're saying. But they're going to deter Israeli aerial attacks in Syria. So they're going to move in a bunch of Heiser air defense systems to defend the base and establish airspace dominance. Turkey is planning a layered air defense network as well, just like Israel has with their Iron Dome, David Sling, and their Arrow. Turkey is considering deploying their S-400 missile defense systems. And they got that in the summer of 2019 from Russia, which is really top end, the S-400. But it still requires Russian approval. And this would, if this is approved for, because Russia will not allow any of these people who purchase their items like the S-400 to use it in another country unless they get Russia's permission. So Turkey's only supposed to use the S-400 in Turkey. But Turkey wants to deter the Israeli airstrikes on Syria, likely Damascus, especially after Assad has been kicked out. That thing can track even our F-35s and Israel's F-35s. So we've got to keep an eye on that. The USS Carl Vinson is still moving in. Whoopsie. And it's actually now, it is down there, rounding the strait down there by Malaysia. I just saw before recording this here a little bit ago. So they are past the Philippines, leaving Guam. They're now in that strait down there by Malaysia. So they should be to, real world in the next 7 to 10 days to the Gulf of Oman, Persian Gulf. Maybe the Red Sea, but they're saying they're going to the Red Sea. Well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Tuesday, the CENTCOM dude, Chief Kurilla, landed in Israel, and he met with the new IDF Chief of Staff at the headquarters in Tel Aviv underground. And the focus was all about Iran, as you can see right there. And he's the one who handles the Iran file. So he met with the Israeli military chiefs for almost 10 hours to discuss Iran and the Houthis. This is what Khan News there in Israel was reporting. So Israel is still making preparations with or without the United States intending to attack Iran or intensify the strikes in Yemen. All right, this next story, I'm going to play a video. It's about 3 minutes long, but this is nuts. North Texas residents are debating whether or not to allow plans for an all-inclusive, all-Muslim compound called Epic City on 402 acres in Texas, all Muslim. It would govern itself, regulate itself. This would be the birthplace of Sharia law in America if it's passed. This is not diversity, but this is ideological takeover. And this story is real. And I put this up on Tuesday and said this is not an April Fool's joke either. Governor Greg Abbott said Sharia law is outlawed in Texas under a law I signed in 2017. And Texas is investigating Epic City for many allegations already, including attempts to circumvent the law. All entities in Texas must follow state law, not Sharia law.
402 acres of beautiful scenery. Welcome to the future of living. Welcome to Epic City. Nestled in the heart of Josephine, Texas. It is about 20 miles and 20 minutes from Epic.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Welcome to Epic 2.0. Epic City is more than just a neighborhood. It's a way of life. A meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront. A community that blends with nature, crafted to elevate your living experience. With single-family homes, multi-family townhomes,
Brings Islam to the forefront? Oh my goodness. And they're talking about a faith-based education system of K-12. I think we know it.
apartments, senior living, and in the heart a mosque and a school.
That is just nuts. That is just nuts, guys. Yeah, they want to bring a K-12 faith-based school with Islam at the core. Let's keep going. Yeah, we've got at least 6 of those Air Force B-2 Spirit bombers there now on the south ramp of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. And this is the first time that all 6 have been visible. Keep in mind, there still could be another 1 to 3 in those hangars right there. But I would think they would fill up those hangars first to protect these B-2s. But they're on display for a reason. And sometimes you need to show off your guns to remind your enemies what you had. I said, that being said, what if these are just decoys like bait, waiting for an enemy like Iran to bite with an attack? If this is truly our boys that are there, and I believe that they are, those B-2s, that's 6 of them. We currently have a fleet of 19. So that's basically 1/3 of our fleet of B-2 bombers. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Trump keeps saying, too, with the Houthis, and this is what I believe these B-2s are going to be used on. Because the Houthi terrorists have been decimated by the relentless strikes over the past 2 weeks. And today it makes 3 weeks, 21 days, I believe. So Trump thinks that the Houthis, they're getting weaker. But you know what? They keep launching attacks on the USS Harry Truman. I've been seeing them, these cruise missiles and a bunch of drones. It's just a matter of time, too, before this war kicks off. Speaking of Yemen with the Houthis, but back to Iran. Because they still could reveal a nuclear surprise that will change the global balance of power. And it's very likely that Iran will reveal a nuclear bomb and secret advanced weapon after any American attack, which will cause a radical shift in the global balance of power. The Western economy is unable to bear the consequences of this war with Iran. Seriously, think about it. Can the world, in the world of economics, tolerate oil prices approaching $200 a barrel? But the moving of U.S. air defense systems and ammunition to the Middle East is going on nonstop. This has been happening over the past few days. U.S. Air Force C-17, C-130, C-5M military transport been conducting all these flights between Europe, South Korea, and the Middle East among the escalating tensions with Iran. 2 batteries of the Patriot surface-to-air missiles and another THAAD, THAAD, the anti-ballistic missile system, have been redeployed from the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. So these things have come in from the Osan Air Base in South Korea, the THAAD missile system, and it's been moved to the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar and the Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. So we're getting closer to all kinds of wars kicking off. And Israel continues launching intensive airstrikes in Gaza, not only tonight, but the past 2 nights. And they've expanded military operations in Gaza. And their plan in Gaza is to take over large areas of Gaza, says Defense Minister Katz. So on Monday, the IDF issued an evacuation warning for the entire Rafah area and a large section of land between Rafah and Khan Yunis. And the IDF has now taken over basically 1/5 of Gaza. Almost 20%. It's just absolutely nuts what's coming up. But yes, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I love Psalm 23. Guys, but this stuff with Trump, he's planning on going to the Middle East in mid-May to Saudi Arabia, and he's going to visit a bunch of countries. And tonight it came out on Air Force One where Trump said that he's planning on inviting Netanyahu to the United States possibly next week. So now Trump is talking about meeting between him and Jolani, the ex-terrorist. Well, he's still a terrorist dude, but, and this is being arranged by the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So Trump is supposed to meet with the Syrian president al-Shara during his upcoming visit to Saudi Arabia in mid-May. It looks like Saudi Arabia is even going to host this meeting. And earlier this week, the White House announced Trump's plans of visiting Saudi Arabia and other Mideastern countries in May. The countries will be heading to Saudi Arabia in May. As for the specific dates and details, we'll be reading those pretty soon. And this is what the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said. We'll be hearing about these dates coming up in May. But these mid-May meetings may be very important to set the stage to finalize possibly even agreements going into the 2-state solution. And this may be why Trump wants Netanyahu to come talk next week. But sorry guys, I keep switching back and forth, but I've got so much news just bouncing around. But yeah, these B-2 Spirit bombers are so important for the attack on Iran. And I believe that they're going to be used there in Yemen. But even these things can carry 2 of those GBU-57s. And those are the ones, the massive ordnance penetrator bunker busters. These things, they can carry 2 of them. And they penetrate 200 feet of concrete or 400 feet of soil before exploding. So most of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile development sites, production facilities, storage and launch silos are heavily shielded deep inside mountains and beneath the Earth's surface. And the only viable option for the U.S. to destroy them are the massive GBU-57 bombs that I've shown before. Yesterday and even, today's was a false alarm, but Hamas keeps trying to fire off little short-range rockets. But last night, Israel was raising the stakes in Syria. They bombed outside Damascus again. This was huge because they bombed their military research center. And they're also trying to take out the chemical weapons that have been stored and being made there in Syria that can be used on Israel. The Hama air base was bombed by Israel. And we'll talk more about this bombing here in a second, but this happened just outside of Damascus there. But Trump, check this out. With everything with the tariffs, Trump is telling his people that Musk is getting ready to leave soon. And Trump has including members of his cabinet, Elon Musk will be stepping down from his current role as a government partner. So Musk is a special government employee with his Doge, his Department of Government Efficiency, meaning he can't work more than 130 days per year. And his tenure is scheduled to be over by the end of May. So we'll have to keep an eye on Mr. Doge Boy there, because Trump said when he leaves and someone asked him, is it going to continue Doge after Musk leaves? And Trump said yesterday, that I cannot tell you. In other words, this is all going to be taken over by AI, running it from here on out. AI. Crazy. But yeah, last night they were hitting, see where Homs is there to the left, and that red dot over there is the T4 air base in the eastern Homs desert. That's what keeps getting hit by Israel. And this is the same air base where the Turkish army is supposed to be deployed in the very near future. There where that red dot is. Israel already destroyed most, if not all, of the Syrian warplanes there 2 weeks ago. But last night they destroyed some, I guess, a couple of helicopters and whatnot. But I can't even imagine what they're hitting now. But, I can't see Israel hitting Turkish military equipment being moved in just yet. But it is possible, because Turkey is bringing in a lot of military vehicles into Syria and moving into these locations. And this is a big if. But if Israel hits any of these Turkish military their gear, that could set off something big time. The attacks continued last night. They want to completely utter destroy the new Syrian jihadist regime. And they want to destroy their access to chemical weapons. So this is that Barza science, or the scientific research center there outside of Damascus. And Israel wants to destroy the chemical making weapon capabilities of Syria in an effort to prevent chemical weapons from one day being launched into Israel from Syria. And the like I said last night earlier, the Hama airport being bombed tonight reminds me of the coming destruction of Damascus in Isaiah 17. I mean, they're tied together in the Damascus prophecy. Hamath and Arpad, they are ashamed, for they have heard bad news. They are faint-hearted. There is trouble on the sea. It cannot be quieted. That's Jeremiah 49, verse 23. Hamath there in Aleppo. Hamath and Arpad are modern-day Hama and Aleppo. They're two cities between Damascus, basically, and Turkey. So away from Damascus, going north, you run into Hama, that area. You keep driving north, you will then hit Aleppo. And these are the three largest cities in Syria that will be taken care of by Israel in the coming Damascus war. But I'm going to switch back to the Temple Mount, because that's going to become big. Because yesterday, just out of the blue, Itamar Ben-Gvir went up to the Temple Mount. He basically performed Talmudic rituals in the courtyards of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But he was fully protected by an Israeli security detail. So check this out. He had a full security detail all the way around him. But Jordan came out, Egypt came out, and they fiercely condemned his provocative, quote-unquote, ascent to the Temple Mount. Hamas condemned it, calling it a provocative and dangerous escalation. Saudi Arabia came out with something and said, Riyadh strongly condemns Itamar Ben-Gvir's storming of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the strongest terms. So I have a feeling we might start seeing the Temple Mount becoming another very hot topic again very soon, because we've got the important spring feaster coming up. Passover, first fruits, unleavened bread. Something's about to change. Maybe since Hamas said that they were doing their attacks because of the Al-Aqsa flood, Ben-Gvir is going to flood the Al-Aqsa with Jews now. Saudi Arabia has Mecca, and they bar Jews from visiting. Yet Israel keeps the Temple Mount and lets the Muslims pray. And it's getting time for the Jews to come to the Temple Mount without any restrictions. And I didn't put up any videos, but last night, when Syria launched a jihad against Israel, basically, the mosque loudspeakers in Dara was calling for mobilization and confronting the Israeli incursion as Israel was moving in. But armed men, they were preparing to confront the IDF forces in the city of Dara, Syria. And they had minivans full of terrorists from Dara, and they were on their way to attack the IDF military. Well, clashes erupted between the residents of Dara and the Israeli forces. And Israeli recon drones were spotted over the towns. Apache helicopters were up there. They were helping to bomb things. Israel began tank shelling some of those areas in Syria. So tensions were building last night. And basically in the past 4 months, Israel's launched about 730 or so airstrikes in Syria. From this area to Homs, Hama, Arpad, all these places up towards Damascus. So we've got to keep an eye on that. And basically the Syrians have begun mobilizing to confront Israel. But if they do, they've basically got no shot because they will get blasted from the air. The Syrian government condemned it in a written statement while the Iranian-backed drones or the forces defended sovereignty in its positions. So there was some, casualties. I think there was 10 dead and 22 injured. So Damascus came out, and here's what I said. With this agreeing being up, it's just a matter of time before Syria joins in with other Arab enemies of Israel to attack. There continues to be big escalation of Israeli aggression against Syria. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of the Syrian Arab Republic condemns in the strongest terms the latest wave of Israeli aggression against Syria. The Syrian government says Israel hit 5 different areas across Syria with airstrikes within 30 minutes, wounding dozens of civilians and military personnel. According to a statement by the Syrian Foreign Ministry, the strikes resulted in almost completely destroying the Hama military airport. The Foreign Ministry condemned Israel for deliberately attempting to destabilize Syria. So basically it's official. The Arab Syrian Foreign Ministry in Damascus, which is controlled by Jolani and the HTS terrorist group, has called Israel's operation against jihadists in southern Syria aggression. So basically this is ramping up towards war. And I didn't do a video last night because this was going on. I know you guys saw this, or maybe you didn't, but yeah, last night there was 29, and I didn't even get the right picture, but there was 29, I believe, tornado warnings from Indiana down through Arkansas. So much destruction. And we were blessed where we live up here in central Indiana. The tornadoes basically went north and south of us, so that was just a true blessing. But it could have gotten a lot worse. It couldn't have gotten a lot worse. But there's still some big storms coming up. But I guess the next thing coming up is along the Ohio Valley from Louisville to Memphis is going to be a big old flooding event through this weekend. They're talking 5 to 10 inches of rain plus. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But this morning, and now we're getting to today's news. Remember last week I was talking about Netanyahu, how he was supposed to go to Hungary? Well, he did. He landed this morning, and he defied the arrest warrants that have been levied against him by the ICC, the International Criminal Court. So Hungary is obliged to arrest Netanyahu as being a member state of the ICC. But Hungary has promised that they won't arrest him. And I'm going to show another picture because they didn't arrest him. But today, Israel is also warning Syria regarding Turkey moving in. So Defense Minister Katz revealed that Syria recently sent a stern message to Syria's new president, al-Jolani. And you've got Israel Katz there on the left, and you've got Syria's new president, al-Shara or al-Jolani, there on the right. And Israel Katz said if Jolani allows any actor, such as Turkey, to alter the situation in Syria in a way that threatens Israel, like their air capability for Israel to fly around and bomb Damascus, if that changes, then Syria, will pay heavily. And that's really wild language, because he said he will pay heavily. And I didn't put up the verse, but in Isaiah 17, it talks about Damascus falling in one night, because he, talking about Syria, will pay heavily. This is pretty wild. Israel Katz is using literal words, or not wording, but just the way he said he will pay heavily. That's an idiom of Isaiah 17, I believe 13, 14, that area. So it's really wild. But this stuff continues to ramp up. I mean, this world is definitely getting darker. But guys, if you don't know Jesus, you've got to place your faith and trust in him now, because we're not sure what's coming up, but it's getting ready to get crazy. And I know you've seen these at all the football games, but for God has so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, Jesus, that whoever believes in him, Jesus, shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Because these wars and rumors of wars and actual attacks and stuff is just getting ready to get nuts. Like even today, the new IDF spokesman said Israel's entered a new phase, or a new stage of fighting Hamas. So Israel's getting ready to increase its military operations and attacks in Gaza on Hamas. In his first press statement as IDF spokesman, this guy's a new guy too. Brigadier General Effie Differin says the military of Israel has entered a new stage of the fighting against Hamas. The plan serves the goals of the war, returning the hostages and destroying Hamas's military and governing capabilities. He says that the IDF is maintaining operational ambiguity so that we, Israel, can surprise the Hamas enemy and bring about significant achievements. Our actions will speak. And since the resumption of fighting in Gaza on May 18th, he says that the IDF has struck more than 600 targets already in the Gaza Strip and killed over 250 terrorists, the terror operatives, including 12 senior officials in Hamas's military wing and politics. So they're all terrorists. They all participated in the October 7th massacre, he says, regarding the senior officials that were killed. So Israel's AI, while they went through the ceasefire, was ramping up and getting ready. But yeah, this is what I mean. The ICC today came out, says it regrets Hungary's withdrawal from the court, because Hungary came out because basically the International Criminal Court doesn't like this. Netanyahu landed in Hungary. Hungary was supposed to arrest Netanyahu, but Hungary is withdrawing from the International Criminal Court. The ICC, quote unquote, has become a political tribunal, evident in its witch hunt against Prime Minister Netanyahu. We, Hungary, will not support a court that targets a democracy like Israel for political gain. Hungary defends the rule of law. Hungary stands with Israel. The governing body of the International Criminal Court voices regret and concern over Hungary's announcement that it is leaving the court, saying any departure harms a shared quest for justice. The International Criminal Court is so dirty as it is. But here's what the International Criminal Court is complaining about. When a state party withdraws from the Rome Statute that established the ICC, it clouds the ICC's shared quest for justice and weakens their resolve to fight impunity, the president of the Assembly of State Parties said in a statement. So Hungary today welcomed visiting Prime Minister Netanyahu. And Viktor Orban, he vowed not to arrest him. So then he came out later and said, that's it, we're pulling out. So, yeah, let's keep going. Let's finish up with Iran and some stuff crazy there with Germany. But, yeah, Iran basically has about several hundred missiles left in its arsenal. The Tehran Times said on March 31st that Iranian missiles are loaded onto launchers in all underground missile cities and are ready for launch. It's estimated that Iran has 500 to 1,000 missiles left in its arsenal after firing 300 missiles and drones at Israel on April 13th and another 200 missiles on October 1st of 2024. But check this out. Iran's missile development, they understand Israel's three-layer defense system. You know, they understand the Iron Dome, they understand David's Sling, they understand the aeroballistic missiles. They understand the Israeli limitations and capabilities, and they now know how to overcome them. So this is why the United States has put in the THAAD missile system to help out Israel's Arrow 3. because Iran develops missiles with warheads that can split off in the air, as well as a missile that looks like 3 or 4 missiles due to having dummy warheads. And this is designed to make it more difficult for radar systems such as the Arrow's Green Pine Defense Radar to identify the true threat. So Iranian warheads maneuver as they enter the atmosphere and start flying a certain path, not just falling like a regular ballistic missile. And the missiles that Iran has, they can do it. But I'm going to talk about this, and then I was asking a question. So can Israel defend itself if Iran were to launch the True Promise 3 attack that Iran has promised to attack and launch back on Israel? Can Israel defend itself? Well, here's the estimates of Israel's air defense capacity in terms of the total number of interceptor rocket missiles and whatnot. The Iron Dome, which is the red there, they basically have, they had 10,000 missiles for 11 batteries, which equals 42 launchers. But this was as of July 2024. And Israel's used up more than 10, they've used up some of the 10,000. So Israel probably has about 7,000 Iron Dome missiles left. But remember, the Iron Dome can't shoot down these ballistic missiles that come in from Iran. And neither can David's Sling, which is in the blue there with the Patriot. The only thing that can try to intercept these hypersonic ballistic missiles is Israel's Arrow 3 there in the purple and the THAAD system. So the Arrow anti-ballistic missile system, which is Israel's top of the line, which takes out the highest speed supersonic, supposedly ballistic missiles, they had 192 of them in July of 2024. But 40 to 50% of them have already been used. So Israel probably has around 100 or less of these Arrow 3 missile systems. Because the day is coming when Israel will lose her air defense systems and run out of missiles to protect herself from the attack. And this is why I threw up this verse, because it sure reminds me of Isaiah 17, 4-6 with the whole Damascus prophecy. Because now in that day, the glory of Jacob will fade. What is the glory? And his fatness and the fatness of his flesh will become lean. So I pose a question, what's the glory and pride of Israel today? Her world-class air defense system that no other country can match. Israel will become lean in that department. And this is why we read in verses 6 down there that gleanings will be left in it like the shaking of an olive tree. And an olive tree can have 500,000 olives on it. But if you only have 2 or 3 left in an olive tree, and if you overlay an olive tree on Israel, and only 4 or 5 are left on the branches of a fruitful tree in the middle, if you overlay a map of Israel onto an olive tree, this basically says that the northern third of Israel is going to get hit really hard, and the central 1/3 will as well. 2 or 3 on the topmost bough, the upper 1/3, 4 or 5 on the branches of a fruitful tree, the base, the center. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But now that Turkey's moving into Syria, they are now condemning the latest Israeli attacks on Lebanon and Syria from the past few nights. Turkey does not come out and condemn Israeli bombings in Lebanon and Syria like this. They just don't do it. And they definitely don't publish it. But they did today. So Turkey is addressing this issue before Turkey tries to militarily deal with Israel. Israel is trying to destroy the areas that Turkey wants by hitting all these different T4 military bases and whatnot. Israel's trying to take out what Turkey's moving in to Syria because Israel knows that they could one day attack Israel, and that would get ugly. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. Oh, I got to finish it out with here, but this is getting nuts because this is why I titled this video the way I did. This world is getting darker because this happened at a German soccer game. The world is getting darker. German soccer fans chant and form a giant pentagram to summon Lucifer during the game that was played. This just happened a couple days ago, the end of March. The German soccer team FC Kaiserslautern believes that their success comes from the dark side. And they're becoming known for doing this. This is crazy because they believe that when they summon Lucifer, they will win the soccer game and they will go on to win. Then they give glory and honor to Lucifer. But that phrase right there, exaudi nos Lucifer et surge et abyss sume nimus nostra, that means, hear us, O Lucifer, and arise from the abyss, take our souls. That is crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. And this other sign happened at the bottom there when they actually raised up Lucifer. And that banner read, draw us to the light, rule over the world, rise from the flames and appear. Rule over the world. Draw us to the light. Lucifer appears as an angel of light. He doesn't look like this, with the horns and the devil look, with the pitchfork. Satan's the most beautiful creation God ever created, but he is the darkest thing God ever created, and we can't even begin to fathom it. But guys, this world is getting darker. We've got to keep our minds set with the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. We've got to take on the armor every single day. Ephesians 6. Oh, man, there's so much going on, guys. But this is what I've got for you tonight. Jesus Christ is coming so much. And as you can see, this world is just getting darker. Oh, my word. I'll put the video link in the description below because a lot of people thought this was AI and this was fake, but this is real. So thanks, guys, for watching. And Maranatha, we will talk to you soon, and we will get another video up soon. And it's time to get up another live stream. I need to do another live stream with you guys. It's been way too long. And you guys are the best. Thank you so much for your prayers. Thank you for your contributions and your help. And ask for just your prayers that God will just continue to give me guidance and be a strong, somehow just a blessing to you guys and to finish strong in these final days. But, nothing I do, I ever want it to be about me. I just want it to all point to the Lord Jesus Christ. Whatever you do, in everything you do, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.